Today I'll be making easy freezer meals for beginners because I am new to this whole freezer meal thing. So I'll be making some easy comfort food. I'm Suzanne and this is the Farmer's Wife. Welcome to my farmhouse kitchen. In preparation for this whole freezer meal thing, I went out and I did a bunch of meat shopping specifically, but I also picked up a few other ingredients like pasta and cheese. And I had things in my fridge that I needed to use up, some veggies, as well as some dairy products that I made. I had a big tub of ricotta and 2 containers of creme fraiche. So I'll be using those in today's video. Getting started, I'm making a chicken broth and I'll be frying my chicken first and then adding the water and a few other ingredients to make a really flavorful broth and cook the chicken at the same time. I found that actually frying the chicken first not only helps release the oils from the skin, but it also adds some extra color to the broth. In preparation for a big food day like this, I made sure to think about this well ahead of time, and I got all the ingredients that I would need. I also wrote down a list of the recipes that I wanted to make. Even though they're things that I know how to do by heart, I still wanted a list so that I knew what I was doing, and then I kind of had an idea of what order to do things in. I'm starting out with my ground beef for my shepherd's pies, and I really want to make 2 shepherd's pies because one of those tubes of meat costs around $20. And I don't want to spend $20 worth of meat on only 1 casserole. So it was my goal to make 2. And you could actually add some lentils or something like that to kind of amp it up a little bit. But I just used the beef and then I added some of my homegrown shallots and some garlic, salt and pepper. And I just got that frying up. And I also salt and peppered my chicken. And then I added some shallots, garlic, bay leaves, peppercorns, and I think that's it. And then I just added water and then just got that to a simmer. This was a really big day, and I started early in the morning. I think I started around 10 o'clock, and I didn't get done until close to dinner time. So if you're going to try a big freezer meal day like this, definitely give yourself time and start early and do it on a day where you have the entire day to do it. Instead of doing a typical mashed potato topping for my shepherd's pie, I have a whole lot of parsnips that I need to use up. We actually grew over 300 pounds of parsnips. I've been using them all winter, and I still have a lot to get through. So I decided that I was going to use these and I wasn't going to go buy any potatoes at the store. And I can't believe how long these parsnips have lasted in storage. It's actually incredible. They've definitely outlasted the potatoes. I grew potatoes as well, and they started, you know, going to seed around Christmas time. And so the parsnips are a win. I'm definitely growing them again. Now, my dad makes shepherd's pie. He doesn't cook a lot of things, but shepherd's pie is one of the things that he makes. And he always used corn in the middle between the meat and the potatoes. And so, of course, I have to do mine the same way. Now, I'm making a bit of a gravy out of the drippings. I'm adding some butter, salt, pepper, and then I'm going to add some flour and make a roux. And then I'll be adding some beef broth to that to make a nice flavorful gravy. I've read a lot of vintage cookbooks, and what they did in the olden days was they browned their roux when they're making a gravy. So that's what I decided to do. I'm adding some Worcestershire sauce, some Dijon mustard, and a little bit of ketchup. And I'm also adding some of our own homegrown horseradish for extra added flavor. Now, honestly, this is how I usually cook. I just kind of throw in things that I know are going to taste good together. And this just comes with experience from cooking. Um, the longer you cook, the more you know what flavors will go really well together. So I made that gravy and then I added the ground beef back into it. So that's going to be really, really flavorful and a nice base for our shepherd's pie. To make things easy on myself, I decided to pick up these disposable foil sort of casserole dishes. And I think it's a really good option for freezer meals, especially if you're just getting started and you're new to this. Make things easy on yourself. Don't try to, freeze all of your casserole dishes. Just go buy the foil liners. So this is the base for our shepherd's pie. And my idea is to cool this off because I'm going to be using frozen corn. And because this is going right back into the freezer, I figured why not? So we're just going to cool this off for a little bit while we make the topping. Now, to be honest, I don't have any potatoes in my house, and I normally mix half-half my parsnips and my potatoes. So this is my first time trying to just use parsnips, and it just wasn't getting to the texture that I wanted. So I decided to make a bit of a roux and make a cream sauce to add to these parsnips to give it the texture that I'm looking for. I really didn't want to make a trip to the store right in the middle of all of this cooking. And because I have creme fraiche I need to use up, I decided to add some of it to this cream sauce for added flavor. I was honestly taking a chance by doing this. I had no idea how this was going to turn out, but I just thought about it and decided to give it a try. And it honestly turned out perfectly. And the texture was just amazing. to spread over my shepherd's pie. So I was really, really happy about this. My dad's shepherd's pie would definitely include cans of creamed corn, but because I'm doing two large batches of this, I just decided to go for the frozen. This just spread so nicely, and this just made me so happy. It was an experiment that worked out. Thank goodness. I'm adding a double layer of foil and then marking these with what they are. And I plan on using these this week, so I don't need to date them. But if you're planning on just putting them in your freezer for, those days when you really don't want to cook, you might want to date them. But because we're going to be working really hard this week coming up, I just want to have easy meals that I don't have to think about cooking. I can just pull it out and bake it. Here is that chicken. It cooks within about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then it's done. And there's that beautiful broth. I'm just straining it off, and I'm going to let all of this cool down. I didn't end up using the broth today, but I'm putting it in my fridge, and I'll probably make a quick soup with it this week just to use it up. And now I'm getting my hamburger meat ready for 2 big batches of spaghetti sauce. I plan on making enough for 2 lasagnas, as well as leftover sauce so that I can make spaghetti. Things are just bursting to life outside. I've been doing so much weeding. And here is my little herb garden. And I'm collecting some oregano, some chives, and some thyme. I also have sage in here. And it is just so nice. It's just outside of the house. And so it's so easily accessible to me. And I can just come out here and gather herbs for my cooking. I really feel like this is a transition period because I'm using new things from the garden, but I'm also trying to use up old things, including these shallots and my parsnips. I still have carrots and beets as well. And there are my herbs. I'm going to be adding that to my pasta sauce along with some veggies. I've got mushrooms, celery, onions, and garlic. So that's all going in there. And then I'll also be adding some salt and pepper, some bay leaves, and my mom always adds honey to her spaghetti sauce. So I do like to do the same thing. These are my very last 2 jars of tomatoes from my canning room. And then I'm also adding some more diced tomatoes and crushed tomatoes. And then I later on add tomato paste as well, just to thicken the sauce. The honey just cuts the acidity of the tomatoes. And if you don't have honey, you can use brown sugar. Now I'm straining off my broth. It's had time to cool down. And then I will be separating my chicken from the bones. This is a really economical way to use chicken. And there's so many things that you can do with it. I have another video where I do the same thing, but I make two chicken pot pies. So I'll leave a little link to that video. My next recipe is for chicken bacon ranch pasta shells in a creamy sauce. So I've got some ricotta cheese that I made, and I'm turning this into a delicious pasta dish. So I actually did two different containers here because I wanted to make some ricotta filling for my lasagna, but I later realized that I was just going to use it all for the shells because there wasn't really enough for both. So I added all of that chicken, this container of ricotta, 4 eggs total, and then I added some packages of Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning, which just adds so much flavor, some chives, and of course more shallots because I'm trying to use these up. And then I believe I just added salt and pepper for taste after that. And then of course the bacon. Lately, I've just found out about these Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning packages, and as much as I'm trying to do from scratch cooking, sometimes it's nice to find something that's not too bad but adds so much flavor, and this is it. So now that filling is off in the fridge, and I'm getting started with some hamburger patties. So I'm using another tube of this lean ground beef. I'm adding 2 eggs, some Worcestershire sauce, some ketchup, and let's see here. I also added some garlic powder, some pepper, some salt, and then I also added some Italian breadcrumbs. And I'm using gloves because I really don't want to get ground hamburger meat under my fingernails. So gloves are a must for me in this type of situation. And then I'm just forming these into patties, and this couldn't be easier. And yet hamburger patties are getting more and more expensive to buy at the store. So why not make it yourself? It's so easy. I'm just covering these with some saran wrap, and then I'm gonna freeze these for a little bit in my freezer before I package them up. This is when I realized that I wasn't going to have enough for my lasagnas, so I just threw all that mix together and then added the bacon. And let me tell you, I had this for dinner just after doing this video, and it was absolutely amazing. And there's no leftovers. Into the fridge that goes. And now I'm adding that tomato paste to my sauce just to make sure it's nice and thick. And then I'm going to be boiling my lasagna noodles to get my lasagnas going. And it would be nice to have a ricotta spinach filling. But sometimes you just got to do it the easy way. So I'm just going to be layering the noodles, the sauce, and cheese. I've got two things on the go here, my lasagna noodles, and then I'm also making a nice creamy sauce to go with those shells. So I'm using more creme fraiche and I'm making a nice thick cream sauce. There are my hot lasagna noodles, and you've got to work fast with this. And then I got some water going immediately for my pasta shells. So I just threw a can of pasta sauce on the bottom here because meat sauce doesn't always go best on the very bottom of your lasagna. And now I'm just layering the noodles, the delicious sauce, and cheese. So, so good. I'm going to let these cool off now. And then there is my thick cream sauce for my shells. My husband's favorite food is lasagna, so he is going to be really happy about this. And now here is my leftover spaghetti sauce, so I can make spaghetti sometime this week. I got these deli containers locally, but I'll try and find them on Amazon and link them below. Now I'm just adding some grated Parmesan to that filling for my shells. I cooked the shells, cooled them off with some cold water, and now I'm filling them. And you don't want to overcook them because they'll just fall right apart. I ended up with enough ingredients to do 2 layers of shells. So I added some cheese over top of the first layer, and then I ended up making some more cream sauce to go over top of the second layer. Now, this is a little bit of a tedious job, but let me tell you, it is a crowd pleaser. So definitely give it a try. So, so good. Now I'm topping it all off with cheese. And I got 3 big bags of this pre-shredded cheese, and I'm so glad I did because I wouldn't want to be shredding cheese by hand right now with all the other work I have to do. No, thank you. I like to make things easy on myself. And then I'm topping off my lasagnas with cheese now that they've had time to cool down. I'm not going to lie, this was a lot of work. However, I definitely think that for the amount of time it's going to save me throughout the week, it's so worth it, and I will definitely be doing this again. If you've been thinking about doing freezer meals for a while, like I have, I hope that this video encourages you to give it a try because it honestly wasn't hard. It just took a long time. And starting off with things that you already know how to make like lasagna and spaghetti sauce, makes things easy on yourself because you know what you're going to need and you're not trying a whole bunch of crazy new recipes. Now it's just time to label everything, package everything up, and get it into your freezer. And I couldn't be happier with these results. I am ecstatic. If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing to my channel. I make videos every week on food from scratch, homemaking, and life on our farm. Thanks so much for joining me today.